my lovely human beings. This is the first of a new type of video that I want to do every week on Monday for you. So my schedule is starting to solidify, cement, watchable for you on Mondays. And what we're going to call it is Monday, Get Ready With Me and Mythology, or history, or antiquity, just depending on the topic that we're discussing. And I'm happy with the name of it. It's unfortunately taken a lot of headspace for me to get there. So anyway, because it rhymes, it's the rhyming, you know. So today will be a Get Ready With Me and Mythology, okay? We're going to cover some mythology because you guys are fascinated about it. Now, for me, I have a special place in my heart for religious mythology, legends, all of that type of history. I think it's fascinating reflection upon the human condition, the human psychology. And I think it's even more interesting that the more you study, the more little slithers of insight you find. And I want you to come along with that journey, you know. I want you guys involved. So we're going to start with the Greeks. Why am I starting with the Greeks? Because I'm clearly insane. Because Greek mythology is so complex and long and interbred and interwoven that it's literally taken me weeks to study up on this topic, enough to the point where I can actually talk about it. I'd just like to take a moment to talk about the sponsor for this video, myself. I'm not even kidding. I don't get any paid endorsement at this point in my journey. The only way that I get paid is through Patreon. So if you like my channel, you want to support me making more of this kind of stuff, because it takes time, and like at the moment I kind of juggle having a job and sort of content creating, so you know, I'm not content creating at my peak. But if you'd like to support, you can head over to my socials, link below. I'd love you to join my Patreon. We do a realm of things on there, a lot of history stuff, health and fitness, just mental health. Like, we're a little family there. And I also have a shop that hopefully we'll have more things on it soon, but at the moment it has prints. So yeah, that's the sponsor of today, myself. All that money directly at the moment goes back into creating content, because buying cameras and editing software and like books and like subscriptions to like ESCO library and different academic subscriptions and that sort of thing, it pays for that. They have really chosen the most expensive niche, I feel. Maybe not. Maybe guys that do cars, maybe that's more expensive. Or like those girls that have like those, that they compare like the luxury handbags. Maybe that's worse. But yeah, a lot of academic subscriptions, and they're not cheap. Anyway, let's move on. Let us begin with classical Europe. Now, it's important to study this stuff. I say that as someone who grew up Christian. Very Christian too, not just like, oh yeah, we like very Christian. Now, ancient Rome and ancient Greece and their belief systems were what the general public was believing before Constantine just decided, hey guys, we believe in Christianity now. So I always really enjoy looking at it from that perspective and like seeing the similarities of the belief systems that were and then what came. So there were a lot of historical deities and heroes, and some of them you'll be absolutely familiar with. If you're sitting here like, what are we talking about? Don't worry. So let's just begin with the creation. The creation in classical mythology, it has a couple of different accounts. I'm just going to go with the simplest, which is in the beginning, there was nothing. It was vast, it was dark, and it was void. And that darkness and vastness was called chaos. Okay, so out of the chaos comes some figures. The ancient Greek cosmos begins with like shadowy characters. They don't have as much purpose is maybe not the word. They don't have as much personality or stories behind them as the later generations of gods and goddesses did. Uranome, I believe it's pronounced, came out of the darkness, and she is described as the goddess of all things. She was a figure that could just dance in the primordial chaos, right? Brood on the water or take form of a bird that lays this universal egg, okay? Other characters such as Kronos with a C, Kronos the First, because we need to specify. He was originally a harvest god and presided over the natural forces. And then the Titaness Rhea was a primal goddess like Gaia. Now, Gaia is important. She is the earth, Mother Earth herself is named Gaia. So she is an important figure. She's like the mummy up the top, right? The Titans also ruled the various heavenly bodies. So there was Kronos and Rhea, right? They're sort of like under, because there's Gaia, Uranus, who births Aphrodite. Then Gaia and Uranus birth Cyclops. And then Gaia and Uranus birth Kronos, Rhea, Coes, Phoebe, Oceanus, and Tethys. I'm just going to keep powering through. Like, I can't get to all of you guys, okay? We're going to focus on Kronos and Rhea because from that relationship, the baby eating relationship, come the more focused on gods and goddesses. With the sixth child that she births, she does the old switcheroo and swaps the baby for a rock and then gives it to Kronos. And so Kronos eats the stone. That's important to remember because we'll be coming back to this story. Just keep a little bookmark on that. I just want to make a couple of little comments about the other gods that were going on at this time. So there was the Cyclops who was born. They had one eye. So there was that. There was a 100-handed giant. When you have babies with your brothers and sisters, weird things happen, like 100-hand giants. There was the Trinities, and there was 3 fates. Anyway, I just wanted to like mention those so you're not like, oh yes, okay, so let's move on. So let's talk now about the cosmic war. So as I mentioned, Rhea gives Kronos a rock. He swallows rock. Zeus is saved by Rhea because the stone has been eaten. Zeus grows up and then is told that he can save his brothers and sisters inside the belly of Kronos if he's administered this particular like drug. Zeus follows the instructions. His brothers and sisters are thrown up and are saved. Thank you. Who were the children, you ask? Poseidon, Hades, Hera, Hestia, and Demeter. So these are like our main diggity dogs, right? Why did I just say that? Who speaks like whatever? these are important people, you know, Kronos just swallowing people. Anyway, they lived. So, and then there was like a war, and obviously Zeus was like, Kronos, you gotta go. So basically there's a big war, which is very complex, and I honestly don't have the energy to get into it. But there's a lot of like sub-gods and like all this stuff. They win. Zeus wins, and his brothers and sisters win. So he marries his sister Hera. So Hera and Zeus are like leading with the brothers and sisters. Then Poseidon takes the sea. Zeus sort of takes like the world, like the earth, and Hades is like, you know what, guys, I'll rule the underworld. Leave it to me. So they're all kind of like equally powered, but like Zeus just sort of like takes the star of, he's just like kind of the big dog, because the other brothers and sisters are like, you know, whatever. Demeter is extremely important because she is the goddess of like the fertile lands. Anyway, so now we're going to talk about each of these individually, okay? So Zeus, whom I like to call frat boy Zeus, because honestly that's kind of like how he acts. He likes to have sexual relations with women. He's got Hera as his wife, and she's just like, let it be. So he basically, in all of his sexual conquests amongst human women and other whatevers, had like a lot of different offsprings that created a lot of different types of creatures, right? Nymphs, and that's a whole nother video. Like Zeus's parentage is probably a video that needs to be done in and of itself as like a standing. Hera had like kind of been ignored because Zeus was like, okay, like Poseidon and Hades, let's like divide up the cosmos between us boys. And the girls were like, okay, like we're kind of not really involved here. So Zeus is like, you know what? I'll give you the power you've been denied. So that power she used to like kind of attack the women that Zeus slept with. Which is sort of like, I don't know, like personally I feel like she was misplacing her energy, but... So we haven't even gotten to the creation of humankind at this point, okay? This is why I said it would be a long video. It's confusing. Anyway, so unlike many cultures, the Greeks did not have a single story. Of course they didn't. They didn't make it easy for us to narrate the origins of humanity. Just to touch on like the various legends, some say it was Prometheus, who was one of the older gods. He was the one that created human beings. And apparently he taught humans important skills like medicine, like navigation. But he also, so like while Prometheus like wasn't the best, he stole fire and bring it to Earth so that people could cook, which is pretty good for us. But then Zeus was very mad about the theft of the fire, and he punished Prometheus by having him chained to a rock, where an eagle came to peck at his liver every day for the rest of existence. So yeah. Thanks, Prometheus. Love you. Bye. So during the Golden Age, the world was ruled by Kronos, known to the Romans as Saturn, okay? It was a time of peace, of tranquility. There was no war. There was no injustice. Apparently. Food was available. And then that term, the Golden Age, I bring this up because you probably have heard me say this before, became a term that was used was used historically to describe good times, where there was no war or like hunger or, you know, there was just casual slavery. Don't get me started. Zeus wanted to punish the human beings for what Prometheus gave us, as if it was like our problem to deal with. Like, thanks a lot, Zeus. So he created this beautiful mortal woman called Pandora. Now she married Prometheus's brother, Epimetheus. The gods gave her many gifts. I believe Epimetheus was the god of hindsight. I believe that's correct, which is ironic, you know. Now she kept the gifts that the gods gave her in a jar, then put that, or some people say in a box. Okay. When she opened the gifts, that's when plagues and disasters took place, which condemned humanity to a life marred by misery. The only positive was that in the jar or the box, there was hope. There was like consolation. Do you know what I mean? And that is where we get the saying like, don't open Pandora's box, or like, oh, this is Pandora's box, because like Pandora's jar, box, whatever. Zeus, frat boy Zeus, does his thing and has sex with his other sister, Leto. I think they're sisters. Yeah, and they had Apollo and Artemis. Okay, so Apollo was, he was like, what was he the god of? He was the patron of archers, okay? His bow and arrow brought pain to humans, but he was also the god of healing. And he was the father to mythical physician Asclepius. He was also the god of music and the arts, and an accomplished player of the lyre, which was like a harpy kind of looking thing. It's a very bad explanation. Anywho, Apollo was also worshipped as the god of light and sun. A musical jewel, like the only thing I think of is like a dance off. His sister by Zeus and Leto, Artemis. Now Artemis, come on, where are ya? Yes, and the twin sister of Apollo. Now she was the patroness of hunting and the protector of the weak. So she's often portrayed with like arrows, a bow, and she, and a deer as well, a deer. The cypress tree was sacred to her. And she was a virgin and devoted to the hunt. It was like a whole life. But she also used her weapons against her enemies. When the hunter Orion tried to rape her, sorry, sugar warning, Artemis killed him. Good on her. Okay, now let's talk about Poseidon. Poseidon, remember, brother of Zeus, Hades, Hera, etc., etc. Okay, he was the god of the sea. He was the sea god. He's the one that holds the big Triton. And of course, because the Greeks lived so close to the ocean, many of them lived so close to the ocean, the sea was a massive part of their life. For food, for travel, for trade, for, you know, flooding, for all sorts of shenanigans. So Poseidon brung the storms. With living in coastal areas comes coastal storms. Right, yeah. He wanted to be like the patron saint of Athens, but obviously Athena ended up winning, hence Athens, and he was mad about that. So yeah, basically there wasn't just Poseidon in the sea god realm. There were other sea gods that were worshipped. Like when I see pictures of this particular goddess, it's a mermaid. It's a mermaid. Originally fishermen, they become immortal when they like eat a herb that has magical powers. They have power in the sea. Then there's Proteus, renowned for his wisdom, the ancient one of the sea. Then there was also Triton, half fish, half man. That he's a very powerful guy. The sea is powerful. Don't mess with it. I think I'm gonna go with a green look. Just before we go on, we should probably talk about like some of the mythical beings that were very much believed in and very much a part of the mythology. Okay. Bizarre beings sharing human and animal features, giants, teeny weeny fairies. There's lots of different tales of different beings, right? Mermaids, yep, they were a thing. Werewolves, a thing. Trolls, they were like giant though, not like little. The next one up on the chopping block, I don't know why I said that, is Dionysus. Honestly, he would be a troublesome little guy. He would be blamed for a lot of, what's the word? Debauchery throughout time. Anyway, he was the god of wine. Didn't realize that was a necessary god, but there you go. He was an anarchic figure who presided over drunkenness and irrationality, and basically he was the one that altered the states, gave ecstasy. Okay, he was able to shapeshift, but also appeared as a human. And when he was, he was often accompanied by like revelers, party goers, I guess. Anyway, that made him kind of like the god that presided over plays and performances, and the Athenians held, what is it? Festivals in his name. There was also a cult following that, anyway, well, yeah. That was him. The cult following got weird. You can go and see my like religious orgy videos. Yeah, I need probably say little more than that. Athena. Athena was the war goddess, okay? So she, when it came to war, she was the one. Now the thing about Greek history is that war definitely was a thing that happened. That was the weirdest way to say that. Anyway, she was a powerful war goddess. She was usually depicted with like her shield, which is like very Greek in nature, i.e. like, you know, the round hoplite style shield. But she was also the patron. She was also the patron of crafting. which kind of like, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but then also it makes so much sense. You know, like, oh yeah, I'm the goddess of war 9 to 5, and then I just like come home and craft. Makes sense. Pottery, weaving, shipbuilding. Obviously, the city of Athens was named after her because she was good at crafting. Anyway, whatever. Craft. She was especially valued because unlike some of the other gods, Athena was always happy and available to help out the humans. So us humans really liked her for that. She was, you know, she was nice to us. So, no surprise that her daddy was Zeus, obviously. Anyway, Athena was really important. I think we get that. Aphrodite. Now, Aphrodite was the goddess of love, but her name means born from the sea foam. So I don't feel like she's often, I don't know, like in the depictions I've seen of Aphrodite in this modern day, don't often like relate her to the sea, but maybe that's just me, I don't know. She was born in the frothing sea, and she was famous for both her exquisite beauty and also she had lots of lovers. I mean, she was freaking Aphrodite, for goodness sake. Of course she did. Her partners found it impossible to resist her charms and good looks, and her magnetic attraction, frankly, which made her one of the most powerful of all deities, because, you know, love is a powerful thing. We know this. All right, so let's kind of talk about now some of the other goddesses, because there's a few. Obviously we've spoken about a few, but there was Demeter. Now, Demeter was the goddess of the plants and the growing and the harvest and that sort of thing. Demeter has a daughter named Persephone. Okay, she's like a real helicopter mom, to be honest. So she just wants Persephone to stay safe. That's like her whole jam. But depending on the myth that there's a lot of myths. I'm gonna tell the one that I like because I can do what I want. Hold on, let me just like cut this crease. Let me cut the crease. So basically, Persephone helps Mummy with like planting plants, right? And she gets to know Hades. Remember him? Hades, the god of the underworld, right? The sort of outcast of all of the gods. The naughty. Like, to be honest, there was, like, I think Hades was very misunderstood. But anyway, that's just my opinion. Him and Persephone get to know each other and hit it off. And obviously Demeter is like, absolutely not. This is not happening, because Hades lives in the underworld. Once you go in the underworld, you can't kind of like cross back over very easily. It's a whole thing. And so Demeter's like, Hades basically snatches her being Persephone. Or in other tellings, Persephone just like crosses the line and she's like, Hades, take me to the underworld because my mum's coming, kind of thing. So Hades does that, and Persephone is in the underworld with Hades. They like get married and whatever. And then obviously Demeter was like distraught. She was like so angry because it was her only daughter. And so she went on a long search for her daughter during that time, famine and stuff happened. So like obviously whenever there was like a famine, it was like Demeter's going in search of Persephone again kind of thing. That's where that sort of like myth, I guess, came into practicality. Zeus kind of clued on to the situation. He was like, shit, like, if we let this happen, the Earth's gonna perish because Demeter needs to be focused on her crap. You know, she needs to get it together. So, Zeus persuades Hades to come to a compromise where Persephone would be allowed to live on Earth with Demeter in the spring and summer, and then could go and spend the rest of the year with Hades. Accordingly, when Persephone is with Demeter, the land flourishes. And when she's with Hades and Demeter's all depresso again, the land does not flourish. Winter, because you get it, like summer, spring, like when she goes back to the underworld, Demeter gets all upset again and the earth kind of doesn't do so good. So yeah, that's that. Some people say that Hades like stole Persephone. Some say otherwise. I like to believe that Persephone fell in love and that Demeter was just like a bit much. And that Hades is like this like misunderstood, dark, handsome, bad guy that's actually really good, you know? Have I read a couple of fanfics? Yeah, a lot. Okay, I'm obsessed. Don't look at me like that. Hestia. Okay, so Hestia... You gave me this job. And then there was Hestia, daughter of Cronus and Rhea. She was... What was she? She remained a virgin. Even though Poseidon and Apollo were in love with her. She was like, not interested. And she was kind of like the domestic goddess. Kind of. Okay, you guys. So we got through like quite a bit. This is actually, no, I haven't done my lips. We got through quite a bit. More than I kind of thought we would. There's much more actually to the Greek mythology, and more gods and goddesses and more stories. And honestly, we're gonna have to do a part 2 because, well, I finished my makeup. You know what I mean? So next Monday we'll do a part 2. Comment below though, like, I covered most of the family tree and I'm kind of down to like the bottom. So let me know. I will eventually do a part 2, but do you want me to do the part 2 this coming Monday, or I can do mythology based in ancient Egypt? I can do like the Roman equivalent, or I can do like most literally any single civilization that ever existed. So there's that too. Comment below, let me know. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it wasn't too confusing and you kept up with my like I'm a lot, you know? I hope you found it entertaining, and I hope that now you sort of know a little bit more about ancient Greece and their belief systems.